What's up?
What's going on, everybody?
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Wednesday of Daily Gaming News.
That is right. Happy hump day to everybody. Hope your Wednesday has started off great and you're excited about some of the industry gaming news that we're going to be touching on. And yes, what's up, Kai? Thank you.
Cheers! We've got a lot of stuff to cover, starting with GTA 5. Still no news of GTA 6. There is way more news on GTA 5, and I anticipate we're going to have more GTA 5 news, for the next few years to come. We're going to touch on PlayStation State of Play, PS5 announcements, especially with a Dualsense controller.
Some new rumors about a game or two.
Rumors about Socom, news about Women in Games Awards, and we'll finish up with Pikmin 3.
But let's definitely start out with the GTA 5 topic, because if you'd never thought that there'd be a game that we would be talking about for years and years to come after its debut, I think it would be Grand Theft Auto 5, as it sold even better on the Epic Games Store in the giveaway.
So the unstoppable money-making machine that is Grand Theft Auto 5 is still going strong in 2020, with publisher Take-Two predicting an even stronger year for GTA Online in the fiscal year ahead. It said in its Q1 earnings call on Monday. Take-Two praised the strong performance of GTA Online since its Diamond Casino update last year and record-breaking active player numbers. But what's really surprising is how well GTA 5 sold, even after it was given away for free on the Epic Games Store.
And what were you getting ready to say after what I was saying?
No idea.
No idea? Oh,
no
okay.
idea.
I was talking about how we never thought we would be talking about a game for so long.
For so long.
Yeah. So following the story of what we reported on, which was the Epic Games Store giving away GTA 5 for free, what we learned from the CEO Strauss Zelnick was that in the 6 weeks following the Epic Games Store promotion, Grand Theft Auto 5 sold more units in the same period than in any previous year. And the week-long free giveaway unsurprisingly pushed GTA Online to new heights for in-game spending, and the second best ever period for new player signups since its first launch in 2012.
GTA Online has somehow been massive for 8 years and seems destined to be around for many more. Rockstar will be bringing the game to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X next year. On PC, it's hardly a surprise that the free giveaway would be a boon to GTA Online's user numbers, but it's amazing to see GTA 5 itself sell even better than ever in the weeks that followed. As Zelnick simply stated to GI Biz, they chalk up those sales to the giveaway increasing the size of the audience.
And Zelnick said that GTA 5 has now passed more than 135 million sales. 135 million sales over its lifetime. And in February of this year, it was only around the 120 million mark.
I did the same as Waffle. I have it on Steam, and I also got it on the Epic Games Store because it was free, and I think it was like a special edition. It was like a deluxe edition or something like that. So I also own 2 different copies. Haven't spent much time playing it, but if I want to, it's there.
Yeah, you know what's funny about GTA 5? I've heard a lot of people talk about in quarantine. It's a wonderful game just to drive. Like, not a lot of us are driving, but people are enjoying it for it being a driving sim. And this game has so much more to offer than just the driving.
Right, it has way more. I don't know if anyone participated in, the alien wars that were happening. Floral Mike says we need GTA 6. That's what a lot of consumers were saying in the PS5 event where they revealed a lot of games. The whole chat was talking about GTA 6, and there's no GTA 6 anytime soon, even though gamers are increasingly impatient for it. But GTA 5, has proven that even though there's no GTA 6, GTA 5, still has longevity.
It really does, and that's going to continue into the next gen, as we know that Rockstar's parent company Take-Two stated that new content will be coming to GTA Online that is exclusive for next-generation consoles and PC.
During the latest financial earnings call, Take-Two said that additional content exclusive to the consoles and PC is planned for Grand Theft Auto Online. This new content will arrive in 2021, but Take-Two offered no more details on what form the content will take.
So Karl Slatoff, which is Take-Two's president, also promised that the next generation versions of Grand Theft Auto 5, which also includes a standalone version of GTA Online, as revealed as a part of the Sony's PS5 reveal stream, it will have a variety of technical improvements that will make it, quote unquote, more responsive.
A press release from Rockstar in June explained that the next generation versions of GTA 5 will be released in the second half of 2021, so it will be at least next July before we see it. As for that new content, it's unrevealed as to if it will be simultaneously available with the next gen version's launch or deployed in a staggered release schedule.
And this is just, I think this is surprising because a lot of people were like GTA 6, and I recognize that like GTA 5 is still strong. You should still continue to develop for it and get the money out of it while you can. But when do you start talking about the next iteration and kind of just feel like, wait, are we just going to move to GTA Online as being the Grand Theft Auto experience?
That's what it seems like. I love how Chad says GTA 5 is its own sequel because GTA 5 is GTA 6. We're just going to pretend that it's the next iteration. It does seem that online is kind of where gamers have to go, similarly to how there's just one Fortnite, there's not iterations of Fortnite. It seems like true. GTA Online is how they're trying to keep everyone involved and engaged and playing the game. I've heard a lot of players participated in the Diamond Casino event or expansion, and seems like they're still doing well. So while people are getting impatient and while there's kind of a lot of fuss for demand for GTA 6, it seems like it's not really holding back GTA 5 and people are still continuing to play if that's all they have for right now.
Yeah, that's true. I think the aspect of GTA 5, specifically GTA Online, has won over everyone just to recognize, like, if I get this game and I've never played it or I've never had this experience, I'm probably going to have a good time and I'm probably going to have a game that I'll want to play for a long time. And their focus on exclusive content for the next gen, as well as we know we have even more content coming out for GTA Online with like new heists, a brand new location. There seems to be this focus of kind of like what we've seen happen with Call of Duty, with Warzone, what we heard about with Halo, possibly the multiplayer aspect becoming free to play. This could be a shift in Rockstar's stance where maybe GTA 6 doesn't even occur, that it just becomes Grand Theft Auto Online, and that's where we get the new stories by more of an online community experience versus necessarily a whole new story. I think that would be unfortunate because of the stories they can tell for Grand Theft Auto, but I would also understand that choice just seeing how well GTA Online is doing.
Right, and if it ain't broke, I mean, don't fix it. If the community is there on GTA Online, they could definitely kind of like morph it into what would have been GTA 6. They've been working on GTA 6 for a while. Waffle says, I think we'll see GTA 10-year mark before GTA 6. It's anticipated that GTA 6 will come out in 2023 approximately.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. So we still have a few more years to go at least, before that comes out.
Yeah, for sure. And this is also one of the moments in gaming where we are able to look at a game that was successful on multiple iterations, even more successful once the PC version came out, and now looking at like the GTA RP community, the role-playing community is thriving. The alien warfare aspect that they had going on added, attraction to it. Seeing Epic Games do a giveaway and just bringing more people in, I think we're going to see more platforms that may get access to Grand Theft Auto do this same kind of approach so that more people will continue to play it, so that when this new content comes out, it just continues to bolster their sales. As Rockstar, as a business, I can understand why Rockstar would say, why do we even need to go after GTA 6? Look at what we're doing now. It's standalone.
Right, it's working. It is standalone already. Seeing that it's going to release on next gen, I think it's going to have a ton of downloads. I think a lot of people are going to be moving to GTA Online for next gen, and there are going to be some updates for it, some technical improvements that will make the game more responsive. And I think GTA 5 is going to keep going strong for a while longer until GTA 6 comes out. I don't think we're going to see any of the hype from GTA 5 dying down.
Absolutely, and we should just go ahead and expect that to be the case, as this game's been around since 2012, and we're still talking about it crushing numbers and doing extremely well.
So speaking of new stuff and not a super old game, the new PlayStation State of Play is coming this Thursday and will focus on the PS4 and PSVR games.
So PlayStation has officially announced the time and date for the next State of Play, and that is tomorrow, Thursday, August 6th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the State of Play will air on YouTube and Twitch.
If you're holding out for PS5 news, you'll need to wait a bit longer, as the upcoming State of Play will focus on upcoming PS4 and PSVR games. There will be a few quick check-ins on third-party and indie PS5 games revealed during the June PS5 Future of Gaming event, but there will be no big PS5 announcement, so it looks like we'll be holding out even longer to get a PS5 price point or release date.
And this week's State of Play should run for about 40 minutes or so, according to the PlayStation blog post, and it is just to make it infinitely clear, as the blog post states this: there will be no PlayStation Studios updates in Thursday's episodes. There won't be any updates around hardware, business, pre-orders, or dates either. On Thursday, our focus is squarely on showcasing some cool upcoming games coming to the broader PlayStation ecosystem.
Perhaps this State of Play could give us more details on Marvel's Avengers, or Cyberpunk 2077, or even Assassin's Creed Valhalla, as they're all dropping for PS4 as well as the next-gen console. Those could be filed under the few quick check-ins portion of the show, but in terms of indies, we could be getting some updates on the puzzle game Cardo or Where the Heart Is, but we'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out.
And that will be happening during the Daily Gaming News hour. So what information we can cover might happen on the fly, or just tune in on Friday as we cover everything that we get from that State of Play. Because what is interesting about this is that a rumor surfaced while the freshly announced State of Play, quote unquote, won't contain any major PS5 news. As we were just discussing, it looks like there's another major announcement that could still be scheduled for August.
So author Takashi Mochizuki cites an anonymous official at PlayStation as the source for this rumor, though it is unclear whether this announcement would be related to the biggest product detail still missing, which is the release date and price of the PlayStation 5 console.
And Macquarie Capital analyst Damien Thong told Bloomberg that he actually expects the PlayStation 5 to cost about $400 for the discless version and $500 for the version with the Ultra HD Blu-ray drive, before adding this.
He said, "I think the core of Sony PlayStation early adopters will snap up the first several million units quickly. With backward compatibility, their existing game library will work on the new console, so the new machine would be usable right away."
And he expects that over 6 million PlayStation 5 consoles will be sold globally by March 2021. Meanwhile, Sony did just announce that the best quarter ever for PlayStation took place as they hit $5.6 billion in revenue and $1.1 billion in profit, clearly boosted by the global lockdown caused by the global pandemic. And almost 2 million new PlayStation 4 units were sold in April to June quarter alone, bringing the total PlayStation 4 units sold to over 112 million.
I've been seeing more and more details about how the difference between the discless PS5 and the version with the disc drive is going to be about $100 difference, which I'm kind of surprised. I thought it was going to be less. I didn't realize it was going to be, that much more expensive, really. It's good to hear that, PlayStation is doing well. It seems like numbers all around, in the gaming industry are way up.
Yeah, that is so true, as there was something that I remember looking at this morning, along with this discussion of the rumor of the next event, which had listed, supposedly, these prices has been broken, that it was a $399 price point and a $499 price point, and then that was taken down after that had gotten leaked. So I think that's safe to say that we should expect that. The $100 difference, I agree. It's kind of like, really, for without the disc, it's only $100 less.
Right.
And how many people are going to be, sold on the idea of needing a disc or not getting one, as there's still going to be some element to having the physical disc that we've heard people in chat talk about before. Does it, garner the extra $100 expenditure?
Right. The Crusher says, "I'll be getting the physical version because you love digital, but the used market is still something that you utilize." And I think something that, shouldn't be forgotten about is the marketplace for used games, for trading, and so on. I hope what's not going to happen is that we'll have, the PS5 launch in stores, and then maybe the discless version is going to be all sold out, and so customers will be forced to buy maybe the more more expensive one with the disk drive in it. I hope that's not going to happen. It seems like they're pretty on top of, logistics and the production schedule and making sure that there really aren't shortages of this, because if there are shortages, that means the price is going to go way up as people try to buy up a bunch of machines to sell them for a higher price. So it seems like it's under control and that won't happen, but I have an inkling of worry that it might.
Yeah, for sure. I think we all should have that skepticism based on previous console cycles, launch days. This happens. Like you said, they are supposedly on top of it with the one per household. So how people are able to get around that or try to maneuver around that is going to be one we'll have to just kind of, wait and see. However, I want to believe and be hopeful that we all who do pre-order and get the console won't be left with that tough decision of being like, I just wanted the digital version. Now I'm stuck with having to pick, the disc version and it's not the version I want. Do I wait or do I expense money that I might have put towards peripherals that we know we'll be talking about later?
Exactly. Thank you so much, Kai, for the dono. We really
Kai,
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. About the PlayStation State of Play coming Thursday, I wonder what they're going to talk about, because I'm kind of getting to the point of where I feel like I've heard already a lot about some of the games that are coming out, or I'm kind of satisfied with the announcements, but that just might be because we report on this kind of news every day. I don't know how other consumers are feeling. If you do want to hear more about Assassin's Creed Valhalla or Marvel's Avengers, and I'm glad that Sony is at least managing expectations. Unlike Xbox, they didn't say that there's going to be any gameplay necessarily for this State of Play, just updates about some of their games, no information about the PS5 specifically, and they said that they're just going to be addressing that later on during the month.
Yeah, I'm actually excited to see if any of the PSVR content that they address has any type of alluding towards the next gen, as we've seen now in various different moments of them talking about the PlayStation VR for the next gen. I know they're slowly rolling out hey, we're talking about virtual reality when it comes to the PlayStation 5. We haven't yet seen a PSVR 2. We've seen patents. We've heard of technology. So this could be one of those moments where there is some sort of dialogue addressing. Maybe an indie developer or a third-party company talks about it, because I know this is an area of interest that is still very strong amongst the console gamers, because there isn't another console outside of a PC that allows you the access to a virtual reality experience.
There isn't, and I'm kind of surprised that I don't hear more about the PSVR in general, just, articles or maybe bloggers. I feel like there isn't that much PSVR content. Maybe I'm just not looking for it, but also, when I search up, gaming news, I never really see much about VR, especially, the PlayStation VR that comes up. It still seems like it's treated as kind of a niche category, or even if I don't have a PSVR, I still want to, see the cool stuff like Dreams being, being ported over to VR, and being used that way. So I hope we get more on the PSVR, especially as you said, we're moving towards the next gen, and hopefully the PSVR 2 sometime soon.
Yeah, hopefully we get something tomorrow. Just tune in with us. Hopefully maybe tomorrow or definitely on Friday, as we will discuss the State of Play. And once it's confirmed for the next big PlayStation event, you will find that out here on Daily Gaming News.
You absolutely will. But for our next topic, we have a bit of a rumor to report to you, as Socom PS5 reveal might come soon.
So, for those of you that might be one of the many people who miss Sony's first-party third-person shooter series Socom, this might actually be a surprise, and it might be coming very soon, because according to a rumor, which we take with a grain of salt here, but are so much fun to talk about, is that Socom's PS5 reveal is supposedly in the cards, and it's coming soon, as this comes from 4chan forums, where a lot of truthful information comes from, right? But also was talked about on Reddit. And before we tune out this, let's take a look at some of the evidence of legitimacy to this.
And for Socom, if those of you don't remember or don't know, is about Socom U.S. Navy SEALs is a series of third-person tactical shooter video games for the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and PlayStation Portable, created by Zipper Interactive. The title for the series comes from the United States Special Operations Command, which is a unified combatant command.
And yes, 4chan, where we get all of my facts. Yes,
Yes.
This is why we're addressing this as a rumor. But what we want to look at is what are the claims being. So knowing what we know of what Kaiser just said about Socom is that the person who leaked this information regarding the Socom PS5 tidbit has leaked previous Sony intel before in the last 24 hours, and it actually proved to be the real deal. As earlier on August the 2nd, this leaker claimed that Sony would announce a new state of play on August 3rd, which we just reported about because Sony did that.
The same leaker then claimed that this digital event will be less like other state of plays and wouldn't feature the PS5 or release date, both of which turned out to be true as well, which gives more credence to this rumor about Socom.
So the post on August 2nd was the state of play coming this week. Announcement will be tomorrow, which it did actually turn out to be tomorrow. Said that the format will be more similar to the future game show reveal that took place on June 11th and less like the previous state of plays. Like Kaiser was saying, no price, no release date, and Sony has major exclusives still left to show, not including the deals Sony has secured with third-party publishers. And a teardown of the PS5 will also happen not too long after featuring Digital Foundry. And this will also include a walkthrough of the UI, as well as some unknown features that are left to be specified for the system, which we know Sony has continually said, we haven't shown you everything yet.
I'm like, why is this person on 4chan? Just move over to Twitter. There's like legitimate,
right?
like respected leakers, on Twitter that have careers doing that. I feel like just putting your rumors on 4chan makes you seem like totally like some like rando, spitting lies. Just move to Twitter. But anyway, more evidence that the poster actually knows their stuff is that in the new post where the Socom rumor was also posted, the leaker told people to expect locked off content exclusively for Sony that will definitely stir up some controversy and how this would be announced in a couple of days.
And interestingly enough, when the Spider-Man PlayStation exclusivity announcement was made just yesterday, which we reported on here, that leaker teased the Socom announcement by capitalizing a few key letters of certain words and combining it spells it, you guessed, Socom. And we're going to just go through what was posted as this stands out. And to your question, Kaisa, I wonder if this person works at Sony and is just needing to remain anonymous but wanting to share this information. I don't know.
They totally might. So the leaker with the secret message in it says, the image is what I previously said that was going to happen. And for the most part, it's correct and will be proven more so in the next couple of weeks. A teardown will come not too long after the state of play, at max 2 weeks. The price will be revealed and pre-orders will be available this month. Now, I'm allowed to give some more information. There will be more announcements in a couple of weeks.
And the S in state of play, surprisingly, was capitalized, but unsurprisingly, it is a title. And he goes on in this one section, he capitalizes the S in the next paragraph and says, I'm not sure if it'll be dedicated PlayStation event or if it becomes associated with the game's opening night live, but more is coming. Sony still has a big multiplayer game coming close to the launch of the PS5, and some other tidbits that I know are this.
That there is a slight hardware revision upgrade.
That major third-party deals that Sony has secured, such as locked-off content exclusively for Sony, will stir up that controversy.
The detailing and revision of its services that will come soon, such as PlayStation Now and PS Plus.
And he goes on to say, I hid the secret Sony game somewhere in the text. I'll be in touch.
Like, I love how he's writing this like he's like a serial killer, like leaving clues, being like, oh, look at the riddle. And it's
Will you discover me?
Right? And it's like he capitalized these words very clearly, and like you can easily put together Socom. Like, it's not even a riddle, and then goes to say, oh, it's also hidden in the text. Like, making it a fun game. Maybe this is just like a Sony employee with nothing better to do. As you said, that just like wants to, share this with the world and like be a leaker and like doesn't want to be found out here. Thank you so much, Blind, for the sub, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Blind.
So, as you heard it in that message, the sure, or, and Gamescom are all capitalized, and, this leaker states that there's a big multiplayer game coming at the launch of the PS5, so we can assume that they're referring to Socom.
And of course, with a rumor, we take it with a big grain of salt. However, knowing the track record of this individual, this could actually, in fact, be the real deal.
So any Socom fans in the chat, we can already hear you, like revving up, like rearing to go with this game. Let's hope that this rumor turns out to be true. Of course, it's a toss-up on who's developing it, as Zipper Interactive, which has been the studio behind the Socom franchise, has long been dissolved.
Yes, and I think just by that one comment from Croshow is one where they might even be thinking about this. Is Socom, for me, was one of the first like tactical shooters that actually worked very well online. I remember playing it on PlayStation Portable. Shout out to PSP OGs in here. And there was so much fun with Socom that it could really work with specifically the PlayStation 5 hardware, as we would see a version of the game that I think for a tactical shooter right now could do extremely well.
I think so too, and this is Socom that's been playing the whole time on the screen, as I assumed people picked up on since it's in the title. But this game looks really fun. It looks really cool. I think it would be a great success. Boomstick says, huge Socom fam. We have been waiting for over 10 years for the Socom 2 remake. So all of you waiting for GTA 6, you can wait a few more years because the Socom fans have been waiting that long.
They have been waiting longer, and I remember the last iteration of Socom, I think it was on PlayStation 2. So we've gone through 2 more console cycles to now a third, potentially with no update to the series. We knew it dissolved. It was definitely one of those games that you were still talking about amongst the tactical shooters of like Rainbow Six. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, once you had like Call of Duty and all those other ones become of interest, maybe it was just, hey, third-person shooters aren't so interesting anymore. However, I think there's a case to be made with, if done correctly, mm-hmm. and if done with the new technology in a way that we know of with the Tempest audio, the haptic feedback, everything that the PlayStation 5 is supposed to offer, there could be a huge boom in resurgence of the Socom community. As you see some people mentioning in the chat right there, there's still a lot of people that played this game when it was around and it was popular, and then it just kind of disappeared and you go on to play other stuff.
Right, and it looks really fun. As I said before, I could see myself getting into playing this game. It looks very PUBG almost in a way little, yeah. as well. But yeah, third-person shooters, still super popular, still popping off. I could see this making a comeback, and I could see a strong community, being formed around this game. I wonder who's going to be creating it, since Zipper Interactive has long been dissolved. I wonder if whatever new studio takes this on is going to really create the same kind of game, and it's not going to feel like a different game. I hope it feels the same and has a lot of, the heart and charm that led a lot of, players to love it in the first place.
Yeah, and like Crispy was just saying right there, I think this is something that Sony should focus on, is there is a genuine love for these older series that we used to love getting revived, being mm-hmm. brought back and taken in, a new place within gaming technology that wasn't possible when these games were first created. And now that we have the technology where it's at now, let's go back to these titles that were so strong and give them either the final song that they deserve, or give them new life, because what surrounds them both in hardware and in software is exponentially different than it was back when PlayStation 2 was around.
Totally. It's not like a book where, the original, just keep it how it is and you can always read it. Like with a lot of these older games, unless there's a remaster, it's not going to work on like newer machines, unless it's not, backwards compatible. Whatever you're using isn't backwards compatible, you're not going to be able to play it. Oftentimes I found controls in older games to be really clunky. I don't know if it's just, if they were always that clunky, or if it's just like on new machines, they were that much more clunky. I remember.
Has anyone in chat had that experience playing like an older game and being
oh my God.
In God's name was this?
Right? Like, for some reason, whenever I play BioShock on my PC, I, can't do anything, and then I end up being, stuck in a corner, and I think I was, stuck for an hour in a corner, and I, couldn't fight my way out, and I just keep dying, and I'm like, how does anyone play this game? Also, for Fallout New Vegas, which isn't that old, when I was playing it, there's a part where you, right in the beginning tutorial section, you have to get, an herb next to a house, and I spent, 45 minutes. It was on caffeine. I spent, 45 minutes looking for this. I had to look up a walkthrough for the tutorial because it just wouldn't recognize that this herb was right next to me, and everyone's like, okay, walk to this tree near this house, that's crouch, so move a little bit forward, and then it'll come up. And it did. And I'm like, there's no way I could have done that on my own.
I had that experience when they did they remastered or they did a remaster of Hitman, but it was like the not Hitman, Manhunt, sorry, and it was like the that version, and I went and tried to play it on like my PlayStation 4 version that they did, and I was like, how did I ever play this?
How?
Just like the controls just were so clunky.
God.
I was like, what in God's name is this? Who designed this? This was just, I was so mad at the tutorial that I was like, I'll go watch it on YouTube. Like, I was like, I have no desire to play this through whatsoever.
Like, I'm good. Algebraic says Psychonauts on PC has horrible camera controls as well. Yeah, I think for games like this and, you know, Socom, just remake it. Just remake the whole thing. Don't remaster, you know, we have the technology.
We'll be okay with that. We will be okay with that.
Right, I'm all about remakes when it comes to games. I don't have a problem with it. Even games like Resident Evil 4, which still hold up, still great. Like the controls are still great, even though it's tank controls. Once you get used to it, you know, you really have a handle on it. But like even games like that, I'm like they are older. You know, why not give it, you know, a whole redo, and a whole new generation of gamers can, you know, get into that as well.
And we will be waiting with bated breath to see that the Socom series is confirmed, and sticking with the rumor mill, and specifically the rumor mill surrounding PlayStation 5, is we have another rumor plus information that has been confirmed by a little bit of digging on the PlayStation blog website.
So we have rumors about the PS5 Dualsense controller, as the battery is said to last approximately 3 to 4 hours longer than the DS4s, with triggers behaving differently, and we have confirmed PS5 Dualsense controller will have updatable software.
So recently, a Reddit user briefly posted a video of the upcoming Dualsense PS5 controller. And that video was deleted shortly after it. And then another Reddit user showed up and now claiming to show and have received some interesting additional details about the controller shown in that video, including battery life, comfort, the adaptive triggers, and more.
While great, Sony's PS4 DualShock 4 controller isn't known for its battery life, lasting roughly 5 to 6 hours on a single charge. Many PS4 owners are using an additional DualShock 4 or have switched to third-party alternatives. If the freshly surfaced details about the DualSense are correct, however, Sony's upcoming PS5 controller lasts considerably longer than the current-gen controller.
So, in addition to this poster also wrote that the DualSense is much more comfortable and less bulky than the original PlayStation 4 controller. Another interesting detail is actually the behavior of the adaptive triggers on the DualSense, which are said to actually work differently from each other.
So part of the text from the Reddit post says, it's from the user Viper on Fire, the person who had the DualSense in hands and posted it on the subreddit, then deleted it.
So this is what they said when they tried the controller and what they felt. The buttons, the D-pad, and the main buttons actually feel similar to the DS4 with no differences. However, the touchpad actually feels more responsive and clicky as this user got to try it out.
They also said the triggers are interesting. The L1 and R1 don't click, they push down as their triggers. The L2 and R2, however, felt harder to push down than normal even without the tension points activated.
That's pretty amazing. And they went on to discuss the battery life, that it averaged around 3 to 4 hours more than that of the DualShock 4. Taking that into account with the information surrounding the DualShock 4, that means we could have a controller lasting about 9 to 10 hours.
And as to the comfort, they noted that it's much more comfortable than the DualShock 4 and less bulky overall. They even noted that it was more comfortable than the Xbox controller in their eyes.
Ooh, I hear some flames rising right now from those Xbox fans. And this individual did go on to talk about the haptic feedback and microphone, saying that though they didn't get a chance to play with these features, that they would get a chance to play with it at a later point, and they would be informing of what it was like to experience the haptic feedback and microphone.
There's also, a light strip on the controller, and the light strip is much dimmer than the DualShock 4's light bar. And they noted that the PSVR won't support this controller due to not having a light bar.
And again, as we say with all leaks and rumors, we have to take it with a grain of salt.
But what has been confirmed is that in Sony's latest refresh of the official PS5 website, tucked away at the very bottom is this sentence, quote, "Always update your PS5 system software and the wireless controller device software to the latest version."
So while we're used to the fact that our consoles get firmware updates from time to time. We've never gotten any for our gaming controllers just yet, or at least for the first-party ones. And this now actually seems to be changing with the PS5 DualSense controller.
This could be the reason why PS5 games won't be playable using the PS4 controller. The DualShock 4, which was mentioned by Sony yesterday when it outlined some of the official peripherals that will be compatible from the PS4 to the PS5.
I think this is huge news surrounding the technology, the interest, people who are getting to experience the technology and are either like, I want to be first and, share this information. Yes, to Boomstick's comment, 4chan is not a credible source of information. However, there are moments that people who have leaked before in the past, when you examine their track record, you go, okay, this person's been on it. And this specific individual, why we're reporting on this, predicted the state of play. And it was the very next day that information got announced of the state of play, and ultimately go, oh, that's a confirmed source that leaked the information, and it was true.
Right. I'm interested in like the comfort of this controller. I know a big criticism of it, and the same is true for, the DualShock 4, is that if you rest your controller down on the table, it'll like push down on the triggers automatically, and it seems like this is still going to be the case with this controller. I don't know if that's a big thing. If it's going to be like a placard on a Ouija board, you have to put your controller upside down when you're not using it so it doesn't do something on its own. But it seems really cool. I thought it was interesting that the R2 buttons are, harder to press.
Yes.
So it seems like there's been tweaks as to some buttons are, they're more, there's more resistance to pressing them, and others are actually easier and more responsive.
Yeah, I want this information to be true because it lines up with what they've been telling us about the controller and why the controller is so significant, why games like Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Zero West, when that comes out, we'll have an experience with the controller that we haven't had yet before, which is like when you pull back a bow and you go to shoot it, you actually feel the tension of the triggers responding back to you. And I think one of the things is if they are increasing the battery life, it's got to be a more comfortable controller, especially if you're putting in longer gaming sessions. You really want to make sure that the overall experience is a positive one, especially with a length of time that encourages you to play longer.
I understand why PS5 games will need to use, the new controller, the DualSense controller, especially if it has software updates. But I'm thinking that there's probably a way to turn off haptic feedback and, turn because there's a way to turn off vibrations on your controller. So I'm also thinking like it would be cool if you could just also use the PS4 controller with some of these games. I mean, I get it, but I'm also like, was that really necessary, or is this like a marketing thing?
So this is where the great question is this just a marketing thing? Of course that could be the case. We should always take into account that if the game we're playing is designed with these features in mind, you're not going to be able to play the game because you need these features to do it. It's like some games include that touchpad, but you can still use a PlayStation 3 controller, but you're not going to be able to play the games that you need the touchpad in order to be able to move on in them. So with that being said, it's like I think there will be games where it'll be like, oh, I can use my DS4 on the PS5 and it's fine. But there will be PS5 games where it's like you cannot use a DualShock 4, you have to use the DualSense. So I get the marketing question, but I also think it's just they're committing to the comment they said of when we design a game for next gen, we're going to keep it in that, that frame.
I wonder how good the microphone is in this controller, because with this, rumor that we have, the person didn't get to try it out. Microphones are pretty good these days. There was some concern that this one was going to be, kind of not that great, really grainy, low quality, wouldn't be able to use it for comms, but I think that it'll probably be fine. Is that just me? I
think we were also commenting on the joke of like holding the controller up, like how good of a controller. Hey, how's it going, guys? You know what I mean? Like, what are those moments gonna be? Also, they were saying too that the technology changing will also bring a better quality of sound output. So there could be things happening with the DualSense controller that we know of from the DualShock 4, which is we do get sound cues from the controller. How much better are they going to actually be with the controller, and what layer of interactivity are those going to offer that maybe we didn't, have before that we will see.
I know it caught me off guard when I was playing The Last of Us, and I think, some of the, tape recordings were actually played off the controller and instead of the TV, and I was, so caught off guard. I was like, what is this? Or is this sound coming from the controller, or is it not? I think it's a really cool, feature that's added, having the controller be really an extension of the game. Some people said earlier, they're like, oh, this stream is sponsored by Sony. We've been looking for Xbox news.
Yes.
There was not really any Xbox news today, none that I saw. We haven't heard anything about the new Xbox controllers. It seems like the new Xbox controllers are pretty much the same. There's no new game releases. There's no new spec information. There's no new reviews. There's no price point. There's no release date. We try to look at all the, most buzzy, I guess, most important, we feel, most interesting gaming news out there, and there was pretty much nothing on Xbox today.
Yeah, we did. And with the Xbox Games, showcase, we spent an entire segment on that, talking about that. We also did put in the time recently regarding the xCloud. I'll be honest, my interest is much higher in the PlayStation 5 because the more we learn about the console and the more we see, the more I'm excited about authentic next generation technology. And that's not to say that the hardware inside of the Xbox Series X isn't quote unquote next gen, but when I look at what I have in my PC right now and I see what's going on there with the Xbox Series X, I'm like, okay, I feel I'm already there. But once you start talking about features like haptic feedback in your controllers, Tempest audio, things that I do not have in my PC, and I hear the terms next gen, I actually go, well, that appeals to me at where I'm at in my current status as a gamer.
And it seems like Xbox is really trying to align itself more with PC. With the Xbox Game Pass, you can have games on both your PC and your Xbox machine. The Xbox Series X looks like a PC tower or a trash can, if you'd like to compare it to that. But it does look like a PC, and for me, I don't really see the difference of, why should I use an Xbox over my PC versus, as you said, with PlayStation, there is the haptic controller, there is the Tempest audio, and those do come into play, and that adds, that adds a layer to my gaming that I can't just get on my PC, so it pitches itself as to why you should get a PS5 versus, I don't really have a reason to buy an Xbox Series X.
Yeah, and only can I hope as a consumer can the competitive nature of a better technology be more attractive, also force Microsoft to innovate, to make decisions with its technology that draws in a consumer who might be fully committed to the PlayStation console and go, you know what, now I want to get an Xbox Series X because, maybe they start to figure out, augmented reality with the Xbox, or they figure out a way to use, the Surface. However they might find a way to integrate technology, they've really got to start doing things that seem to compare to Sony's information, because we already know Sony's got that market cornered with virtual reality in consoles. And we also see now that they're becoming more immersive in terms of how the technology is interacted with that we haven't seen as gamers.
Right, we haven't at all, and as Meg says, Xbox seems like, we don't really care about the console. They've said, kind of just like poor wording in interviews, they're like, the technology is not something we should be talking about. It was something along those lines, because it was about how games they go beyond the technology now, where it's like, cool, but you should still be talking about the technology to sell your machine, because the technology is really cool and new and great, but it does seem like you could just get the Xbox Game Pass subscription, and that's what they care about more, and, in addition to getting a PS5, because I was considering getting both an Xbox Series X and a PS5. Same. With this next gen, but now there's really no reason to. I mean, Halo Infinite is going to be on PC, the multiplayer is going to be free. I feel like if I were to buy an Xbox Series X, that would be a big reason to buy it, but now I don't have to.
Yeah, and you just said something there too, is kind of mindset that I have is I don't want to make lateral transitions. I want to make vertical ones, right? So if I'm already in a place where I'm fairly happy and I will eventually have that vertical transition so specifically within gaming, the vertical transition for me as a PC gamer as well as a console owner is the PlayStation 5.
Right.
Because it is a step in a new direction that I have not yet seen as a gamer. So, that's kind of a place that for myself with my kind of like outlook I'm at. And I think this also makes sense for consumers going, well, what am I investing in? Right? I'm investing in a long-term choice here. I don't want to have to shell out, several $100s more to get a gaming experience that's parallel. I want a gaming experience that's the next level.
Right, and those who do want something that's maybe, parallel, or they just want to play the new games and not buy the machine, or maybe not new games, but just Xbox games in general, they can buy the Game Pass, and with xCloud, you'll be able to play, like, Hellblade on your phone, or a lot of these titles on your phone that we talked about yesterday, and in order to get, the Xbox game experience, you don't even need an Xbox machine.
Yep, and that's where, we're hopeful that the console war generates new technology and innovation and brings us into the places consumers that we're all like, I can't believe this is real. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if it is just one space that is offering new features, new experiences, then so be it. And I'm going to be the consumer that goes, I want to experience something I've never had before, because that's part of the reason why gaming I've always done that. I've always, upgraded from, the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64 to the PlayStation to the Xbox to the PlayStation 2. They were all choices that were being made based on what does this new technology have to offer that I can't get from the current technology in my possession.
Exactly, and I've been seeing, more tweets about, like, console wars, and then other people saying console wars are fake, like, stop trying to make this happen, and then other people going, console wars, and what that really means, I don't know I don't know what you think, Chad, if you think console wars are real or not. For me, I think all of these consoles should really position themselves as being something different, because, like, I have a PC, and I have a Switch, and I plan on getting the PS5, like, I, like, having the Switch and the PS5, isn't necessary, but they offer totally different things, which is why I'm willing to buy both, but it seems like the Xbox Series X doesn't offer anything totally different while the PS5 does, and so it doesn't make me want to buy the Xbox Series X. It hasn't positioned itself as, presenting like a new experience of games, of how you play, of how you experience the game, of what kind of games you can play. None of that is really, different from what I already have, versus with other consoles, they do offer something different.
Yep. And someone else that is taking a different approach is our next story, as Rare is quoted as saying, at Rare, having a diverse team is incredibly important to us, and the Women in Games Awards headline sponsors Rare on supporting that. The sponsor of Rare is supporting women in the industry.
So for those of you who don't know, what Rare is, what the company is, it was established in 1985 to focus on the expanding console market. Rare partnered with Nintendo and quickly sealed a reputation for quality with titles including Battletoads, Donkey Kong Country, and GoldenEye. The acquisition of Rare by Microsoft Game Studios came about in 2002 after a colossally successful run of titles throughout the 1990s.
And they went on to support the Xbox 360 debut with 2 of the 3 launch games, which was one of them being Cameo Elements of Power and Perfect Dark Zero. Subsequent years saw Rare innovative with Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, the addictive Viva Pinata franchise, and their pioneering work on the Xbox 360 avatars.
In more recent years, their investigations into cutting-edge motion control resulted in the multi-million-selling, double BAFTA-winning Kinect Sports series. With development now firmly established for Xbox One and Windows 10, Rare is still hard at work with their custom-built English Countryside HQ.
And galvanized by the opportunity to celebrate their heritage with the Rare Replay Anniversary Collection, they followed it up with their most ambitious undertaking to date, which is creating a world of legendary pirate adventures for players to tackle together in Sea of Thieves. Then came X019 in London, the unveiling of Rare's latest World of Wonder Everwild.
So it's really cool to hear that, Women in Games Award is going to headline sponsor Rare on supporting women in the industry. This, this company, which has worked on a ton of incredible games, is now being recognized for, its contribution to the gaming industry.
That's true. And this is what went on in the information surrounding the Women in Games award is that they may have had to push the date back a little bit. However, Rare is incredibly excited that they will be launching the Women in Game Awards 2020 this year, which is now taking place on the 25th of November.
They said it has been a remarkably difficult year, but that's just all the more reason for us to recognize and celebrate the incredible work from women in our industry. We are incredibly proud to have this opportunity to celebrate the incredible talent in the UK games industry, and it's a pride that our headline sponsor, Rare, shares. I thought I said the word incredible a lot, but this was 3 times in one paragraph, and these are not my words.
And so Veronica Heath, the talent ambassador at Rare, went on to say this: Rare is delighted to return as headline sponsor for the MCV Develop Women in Games Award this year. We believe we have a role to play to continue to acknowledge and celebrate the fantastic achievements of women in games, as well as recognize how we can continue to evolve as an industry. We look forward to seeing the nominees and award those who have excelled in their fields of expertise and contributed to the culture of their teams.
As Heath explains, this role of recognizing the achievements of women goes beyond just awards, of course. The company has made a focus on diversity an important part of their company's culture.
She said this, she said, being inclusive is on every single person that works in our wonderful industry to create more respectful environments for our teams, where all team members can thrive and have successful careers in which they can bring their unique perspectives into the games we create.
She said at Rare, having a diverse team is incredibly important to us. We continually strive to improve in areas of hiring, as well as how we support and represent the diversity in our studio. Even since last year, we have made strides in building a women's network across Xbox Game Studios in the UK, led by women in our studio leadership teams. We have expanded our programs of emotional well-being, mental health support, as well as extensive family-friendly benefits, and we are committed to do more.
Nominations for the Women in Games Awards 2020 are open now, and if you would like to nominate the hard work of these individuals and, you know, your own achievements, you can actually head to their website to make your voice heard. I wish this was a sentence or a paragraph that was spoken by all gaming companies and distributors.
I wish it was. You know, this was just like great to read. I wish every company was doing this, you know, focusing on diversity, focusing on the emotional well-being of their employees, family-friendly benefits, mental health support. Blizzard, I am looking at you as we talked about Blizzard. Activision, hello, as we talked about yesterday. I think that, you know, it makes me disappointed that this isn't the norm, that this is something that has to be celebrated because it is not normal, because most companies are not like this. I think in an ideal world, you know, awards for people would go to all people regardless, but, you know, because of our current society, you know, there has to be a Women in Gaming or, you know, Women in Games awards to highlight a lot of women that otherwise might be, you know, looked over.
Yeah, it's if we just take a moment and examine, it's very parallel to just modern society in the transition from a male-dominant reality to women having the right to vote in this country specifically not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
Look at human history.
It's terrifying.
You know, when you think of the gaming industry, which boomed thanks to the success of computers and that technology growing, it was a male-dominant industry. And that is where a lot of the understanding of just a general public perspective of gaming was. And now we're in a time period where it's like, no, there are women in games. There are many women who have created games. There are many women who like to play games. And we need to kind of take the same stance on the vote, like the right to vote. The now is the same way as right now we just have to shift the scale back to the one side in order to find the balance where, like what you said, is we'll be in a time period where it has nothing to do with your sex, has nothing to do with your ethnicity, has everything to do with who you are, what you create, and we reward you for that.
Right, and when they talk about diversity, you know, in hiring here, I hope they're also talking about, you know, racial diversity. I've noticed that a lot of companies have now started hiring more diverse because specifically of the Black Lives Matter movement, which is good that they're hiring more diverse, but they should have done this already. You know, companies should have already been doing this long ago. And the fact that they're doing it now, I'm like, okay, that's good, but it makes me think that you only did this because of public pressure and no other reason, like not because you cared, not because you think diversity is good, you know. And we've seen that if there isn't diversity in teams, you know, you're gonna have like racial biases in your games if there's no one to call it out. Like for example, or in your media, for example, that Twitch video about Black Lives Matter, but it was all white people talking, which everyone found very strange, which made me think there was probably no diversity on that team to be like, hey, this was really weird, I noticed, you know.
I think also too, not too long ago, with everything going on, you maybe just block up how much goes on at one time. But the Gamergate situation really wasn't that long ago. And there was a lot of controversy surrounding that topic. And it addressed a lot of dormant issues that we weren't willing to stand out and address. And this was a commentary I think we had once on Caffeine when we were there talking about this, was that in order for this to be the case, take the individuals who have been dominant in that industry, and they need to be the ones speaking out specifically for the equality. So, you know, I'm fine with what you were saying, that, okay, it's a response to a current temporary conversation, but is this a permanent move to the right direction, which is just quality and no, you know, no favoritism or preferred choice is going based on, well, who's suffering right now? No, let's just eliminate the suffering in general.
Yes, please. We don't need this if we can avoid it. You know, you can. People are wondering, they're like, well, I'm just trying to hire the most, you know, the what's the word, qualified candidates. Well, I'm thinking, yes, you are. And in order to do that, you can reach out to, you know, there's a lot of like Latinx, like women in gaming. There's like communities for that. There's community for Black women in gaming, or there are communities and networks that you can reach out to, especially if you have jobs, because, you know, those are, you know, professional networks where people try to lift each other up, and you can go to them as well and see, you know, if there's anyone there that's qualified that might be interested, that might otherwise have not heard of that, because I've noticed that a lot of hiring and can definitely be accidental in having no diversity. Like maybe if someone's from, like I'm from Massachusetts, it's very white, like maybe I only have white friends, and maybe my white friends only have white friends, and they only have white friends, and they all move to LA, and then the whole network is white, and it's not intentional at all, but it's also, you know, not taking on the responsibility of like, hey, we should maybe look outside of our network. Yeah,
for sure. And this is where you kind of go, a Women in Games Awards, that's great. Let's make this a shift, a momentum in the right direction, so that when we go to the Video Game Awards, this is already something being included. You know what I mean? We're already there and having that conversation. I enjoy that Rare is backing this and sponsoring this and is coming out to the forefront to identify this, because there's a lot in the gaming industry that we have to be thankful for with Rare, because they did some stuff in our past that we still talk about now, like GoldenEye. GoldenEye was one of those multiplayer game experiences that many OGs in the gaming life remember that time of playing GoldenEye with friends.
They do, and Donkey Kong Country wasn't it just like released for Switch now? There's still buzz about that game. You know, Sea of Thieves is great. Banjo and Kazooie,
crushing it.
Like these are all like huge titles.
They are, and so this is where you go, okay. It's like when Epic comes out and says we're going to get behind indie developers.
Right.
This is a big announcement when you see an entity like Rare come out and say, you know, diversity and women, we need to start recognizing them. We're going to do that now, and we're going to focus on this because we should have been well past this years ago. But for some reason, humans are just really slow to that balance that needs to be there. And I do not know why, but we are still in progress of being a better version of ourselves, it seems.
And so the Women in Games Awards takes place on November 25th, which is still a while in the future, but I hope that we're going to hear a lot of news about this, because when I was looking, like, thank you for finding this article, because I didn't catch this. I didn't see this anywhere. I didn't see any mention of, you know, the Women in Games Awards.
It didn't get a lot of coverage.
And it shouldn't, and these kinds of things should, So I hope we're going to be seeing more. We're at least going to be, following the story. Any women interested in women's news and gaming, this is where you can find some of it.
Exactly. And someone said in the chat that was like, Kaisa, vote for Kaisa for best woman gaming host. Put in your votes. Put them in. Write them in. Put it on your ballot. Write it in, everybody.
Thank you.
But that does bring us to the end of the Daily Gaming News Hour. As someone was like, the news is almost over. I know, Kane. It is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we're gone, because we're back tomorrow.
We'll be back tomorrow. There's going to be that PlayStation event tomorrow, so we're going to at least be covering that Friday, or maybe we'll touch on it tomorrow. We'll see what the agenda is. But if you missed any of today's episode, we're going to be throwing up them reruns. As you all know, we'll be throwing up the VODs on that YouTube, and we're getting our Twitter up and running. So you can always be tuned into DGN.
Yes, we can be there for your gaming needs here at Daily Gaming News. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following, everybody in the chat offering amazing points of conversation and perspectives. This is one of the things about Daily Gaming News that I find the most fun, is hearing what people think outside of what I think or Kaisa thinks, and offering their perspectives and insights onto these topics of conversation that are pretty big within our gaming industry. So thank you so much, DGN fam, for being here and being a part of this.
Absolutely. So we'll be back from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific tomorrow and Friday. But for today, that is our episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Kaisa.
I am Marrone. We appreciate you all, and we will see you next time.
Bye.